Hi, my name is LeRoy Peterson and I'm an elder law attorney in Omaha, Nebraska, and I help families plan for long-term care. At some point in most of the planning sessions, most families need to contemplate the need for Medicaid long-term care assistance. I know there's a lot of confusion and misinformation regarding Medicaid, so I wanted to provide a high-level overview of the eligibility criteria. Now, many people think of Medicaid as the health insurance program for the poor, which it is, but Medicaid has a separate function, and that is to provide assistance for long-term care. There are three basic criteria that must be met in order to qualify for Medicaid. Now please recognize that this is just an overview, and each criteria is complex with many nuances and exceptions that are far beyond the scope of this overview. Okay, the first criteria that you must satisfy is your status, which means you must be at least 65 years old and a U.S. citizen. Please note that you can qualify if you're younger than 65 or not a U.S. citizen, but that's a different topic for another day. Further, to qualify in Nebraska, you must also be a resident of the state of Nebraska. Residency is generally defined as living in the state of Nebraska with the intent to make it your home. There is no specified period of residency prior to application, but it can become an issue if a person comes to Nebraska and then immediately enters a long-term care facility. The second eligibility criteria is the amount of countable assets or resources the applicant has. And to qualify, the applicant cannot exceed a certain level of wealth or assets. Since the rules contemplate countable resources, this naturally means there are assets that are not counted, and these assets are called excludable resources. The countable resources number is subject to change, so for purposes of this overview, assume that a single individual applicant is generally limited to about $4,000 of countable resources. Married couples where both apply for Medicaid at the same time are limited to about $6,000. And for married couples where only one spouse is going to be institutionalized, there are rules that will allow the non-institutionalized spouse, commonly referred to as the community spouse, keep a portion of the couple's assets. This is typically referred to as the spousal impoverishment rules. Basically, the thought is we don't want to impoverish the community spouse just to qualify the institutionalized spouse. Now, since there are rules that limit the amount of resources or assets an applicant can have to qualify, naturally there are rules that limit the ability to give these assets away. This is known as the deprivation of resources, or the 60-month look-back rule. Finally, the third criteria is a limitation on the amount of income the applicant can receive. Basically, if your income exceeds the cost of the care to be provided, then obviously you don't qualify because you can pay for the care yourself. The income rules are a little different than the countable resources rules in the sense that all assets of the married couple, regardless of how they're titled, are contemplated in the countable resources analysis, where generally income paid to the non-institutionalized spouse is not included in the applicant's income analysis. So that's my overview on the Medicaid eligibility criteria. I hope you found it informative. Please keep in mind that the rules surrounding Medicaid are complex and they are continuously changing. But if you work with a qualified elder law attorney, there may be planning opportunities if you take the time to find them. So whether you're early in the planning process or find yourself in crisis mode, give my office a call today and set up a convenient time to meet and discuss your situation. Finally, if you'd like to get a better idea of what you can expect at your initial meeting, check out the video on the right side of the screen titled Long-Term Care, the Initial Consultation. Or if you'd just like to gather more information, check out the other long-term care topics on the right side of the screen. Thank you.